Tonight on LNN, a student gets arrested for handing out constitutions, and cops corner a mentally ill, legally blind man and kill him. All this and more on LNN tonight. Breaking news tonight as students are arrested for handing out constitutions on a university campus. David, how did this happen?
Well, the college it wasn't even a four-year school. It was a community college called Kellogg Community College. And there were straight activists on campus passing out constitutions trying to promote freedom and the liberty movement. And apparently they were told to stop because they would, and I'm paraphrasing here, keep people from learning. And apparently the campus didn't like it and they wouldn't stop. They ended up getting arrested. Um, what they're claiming here is Hutchinson, who I think was the officer who arrested them, I'm sorry, the manager of student life, excuse me, declared that this action broke the student code of conduct because the education was on their way to educational places, and the question, do you like freedom and liberty, was too provocative. Um, I just find this ironic, and I think we talked about this before, but you see these quote-unquote liberal, free-thinking, open-minded campuses, and yet if you talk about something that they don't like, it's controversial. I think if they're consistent across the board through all this, I could consider doing devil's
Yeah,
advocate in
exactly.
that
I
regard,
find
but
these
I'd be surprised if they
universities,
weren't.
particularly the ones with the liberals who claim to be free thinkers and whatnot, to be the most intolerant people in the country. And they're the ones that claim that everyone else is intolerant, yet they're guilty of the same thing. Obviously, these people did not like the fact that they were handing out the Constitution, and apparently it's provocative to speak about the country's documents now. So, some really sad news tonight as a mentally ill, legally blind man was cornered and shot dead by the police. What happened here, David, and is the family seeking justice?
All right. Well, not only was this man blind, Daniel, but he also suffered from schizophrenia. And apparently he was fine and calm when he came into the store. And then all of a sudden he just had an episode. And they called the police to respond to it. And the police clearly weren't trained for this. So instead of trying to talk to him and calm him down, they started yelling at him, and they had a dog in there. And he got worse and got more scared. And long story short, they ended up killing him. Now, the cops claim that they had a knife, that this man had a knife, and the knife, he was coming after them with the knife, and they were forced to kill him. But the video really doesn't show that. So now the family is trying to sue the
Yeah,
police
I
department,
hope they're
and
successful. This is
rightfully
just
so.
really sad, and every time this happens, when the police shoot people unjustly, it reminds us all that police need major reform immediately. It just seems like this happens way too much, and it seems like every department suffers from this. And it happened to happen to this guy. So, apparently, near you actually, a fake news offer was fired after writing some fake news. Do we know specifically what article got him fired?
Yeah, the guy's name is Cam Harris. He actually went to Davidson College here in my home state of North Carolina. He was working in a paper in Maryland where apparently during the time Donald Trump would talk about fake news and the election being rigged and everything's rigged. Well, he wrote a story as a Republican to boost Trump by saying that there were tens of thousands of fraudulent votes going towards Hillary's way in that area in order to boost his numbers, in order to get more hits on the story. And of course, it was a fake story. He made it up. He went on Twitter and he apologized for it, said it was unprofessional and inappropriate, and he shouldn't have done it. But again, the damage has been done. And it's things like this, along with Pizzagate, that why people don't trust the media. I think people should have common sense. They read these stories, okay, let me do some more searching on that to make sure that's legit. But people just read something, they believe it because you know if it's on the
Yeah.
internet, it has to be true.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of articles that have been written that are totally false, and I scroll down to the bottom and it says that it's fake news. It literally says this is satire or whatever, and it's not a legitimate story. Um, if people are to read articles and comment about them, they should probably check the sources and legitimacy of who's writing them. Um, and obviously, this guy was writing fake news in order to try and pump up Trump's and the nationalist movement. It seems like, but on to our next story here. As an Arizona lawmaker wants to lower the alcohol serving age to 18, and given my state's been generally socially conservative, I'm surprised this has actually come up. What's the latest on this, David?
Yeah, well, apparently in your home state, they're trying to change a law where servers can actually serve alcohol at 18 instead of 19. So see, this is different
Mm-hmm.
to me because in my state you can serve alcohol at 18. So at 18 you can actually serve alcohol and everything like that. Like I would at the gas station, you had to be 18 because you were selling beer. I mean, I really don't see how this is a big deal. How some people think I'm kind of extreme on this, but
Yeah.
I think you should be able to drink at 18. You know, because if you can get drafted and get shot in Iraq, then you can sure as hell drink a
Yeah,
beer. That's
most
my
people
opinion on the
drink
subject.
well
Um,
before 21. So making it illegal for a certain age,
yeah.
especially this isn't even drinking, this is serving. Um, so Arizona is one of the few states that has the 19-year-old requirement for serving beer. Nevada, Utah, and Alaska actually have it at 21, which is amazing to me. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see where this one goes.
Wow, that's
Certainly, it
high.
will allow more 18-year-olds to have more job opportunities, which will, of course, help them economically. But a pro-life libertarian student is suing a public university for violating her constitutional rights. Do we know how they were violated, David?
Um, yeah, this article is written by someone we know actually. Apparently, the school offers grants, a $600 grant a semester to be used toward things like rooms and equipment for rental and for equipment rental and marketing. And the CSU Students for Life, which is a pro-life group, said that a university sanctioned pro-life group is suing because they would not let them use this grant for the purposes I just mentioned for the room and the equipment. It only denied on the basis of bias. So I don't know if they thought it was controversial or because that they're pro-choice. But again, this goes back to what I said about the earlier story that this is a college thing. It's all about free speech. It's not really a pro-life issue. It's about being fair to all viewpoints. And this is another example of that going wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully I I think hopefully her lawsuit is successful and they get this grant. But our final story tonight, as we take a look at the MLB Hall of Fame voting results, what were the results, David?
Yes, three people got in this year. Jack Bagwell of the Houston Astros, Tim Raines of the Montreal Expos, and Ivan Rodriguez, which I think he's going in as a Ranger. All met the 75% threshold. Bagwell and Raines just fell short last year. And of course, this was Pudge Rodriguez's first year on the ballot. Now, I was a little surprised about the results. I expected Bagwell and Raines to get in, but I thought Pudge wouldn't get in on the first year. I definitely feel he's a Hall of Famer, but I thought they may make him wait a little while. And also, Trevor Hoffman and Vladimir Guerrero, who's also first on the ballot, was painfully close to getting in. Um, what other trends did you find interesting in the results, Daniel?
Well, I found it interesting that Kurt Schilling was down at the bottom,
Mm,
um, which I mean he's one of the greatest pitchers during the steroid era,
mm.
for sure. I mean, he was able to dominate against people juiced up. And I was also surprised that Edgar Martinez was pretty low, but Guerrero and Hoffman were pretty close to being in as well on their first year, and I think both of them deserve to. I'm happy Clemens and Bonds didn't get anywhere on this one. Hopefully, they don't in the future. But those are my thoughts. Anything else to add?
Yes, I also like to mention that this is Manny Ramirez's first year on the ballot, and he only got 24%. Um, because he failed two steroid tests, and the second one he says, "Screw it, I'm retiring. I'm not going to do it." So now I think he's playing in some kind of Korean league or somewhere out in the Asian area. But I hate to burst their bubble on Clemens and Bonds. If you look at their percentages and their years in the ballot, I think they'll eventually get in because I think what's
Hmm.
happening here is even though they clearly did cheat, if you take away the cheating, their numbers are different, but they're still Hall of Fame players. So maybe that's a slight shift. And it's also worth mentioning that Bud Selig and Braves Vice Chairman John Schuerholz will be elected as well from the today's game committee.
Okay. Interesting. That will do it here on LNN tonight. I'm Daniel Morrison alongside David Knight, and we will see you guys again tomorrow.